I was looking forward to doing a video today discussing Graham Potter going into the summer and going into next season. And yes, I know, another video about Potter. However, this one was from a different angle. It was about why I wouldn't sack Graham Potter. Because a lot of people assume I would, and that's my fault. It's the impression I've given off, possibly since he's arrived, really. I haven't been that upbeat about him. I'm not being that optimistic about Graham Potter, or certainly not confident about him going forward either. So it's my fault that people assume I want Potter sacked. However, that's not the case. Now, if you do want Potter sacked, I completely get it. You don't have to explain. I understand. There you go. I've annoyed every single subscriber in the first 45 seconds of today's video. It usually takes me about 3 minutes to do that, so a new record for myself. But the biggest reason, and I'll discuss this tomorrow, but the biggest reason I wouldn't sack Graham Potter is David Sullivan. I don't think Potter is the biggest issue at West Ham United right now. It's David Sullivan. And in the last 24 hours, all these reports have been coming out about how West Ham are skint, we need to sell before we buy. And to be honest with you, it's completely pissed me off. I can swear if you want me to swear. I'm human. I'm not a robot. Anyway, that's what we're going to be discussing today. All these reports, because I've gone and got some numbers. It ain't adding up. The math ain't mathing here. And it's a little bit the boy who cried wolf. And I don't like it one bit. Before I get into it though, if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. Nearly at 43,000 subscribers. That'd be nice to hit today. And also do drop a like in the video as well by clicking the thumbs up button. If we can get 1,000 likes, that would be beneficial. It helps the video out. Also, we've got a raffle at the minute. If you want to win this signed Paulo Di Canio shirt, we're raffling this off. And we've got a second prize of a signed Paulo Di Canio Premier League captain's armband. So we've got two prizes up for grabs. It's £5 per ticket, and it runs until 8 PM on Sunday night. Links in the description below and the pinned comments. It's to raise money for Hammers Chat. The money we've obviously paid for these items. The profit comes to Hammers Chat. We've got a promotion on until Thursday at lunchtime. If you buy 2 tickets, you'll get a third ticket for free. So you get 3 entries for the price of 2. It is £5 per go. And just for transparency as well, we'll be doing a second raffle later on in the week. We don't know which player it will be. It will be either Mark Noble, Jared Bowen, Sir Trevor Brooking, or Julian Dix. If you have a preference, let us know in the comments below. But just in case we put that one up on Thursday or Friday, people go, oh, hang on a minute, I've entered the Di Canio one. But if I knew you were doing one with Julian Dix, I would have preferred to have saved money for that one. Right, so there you go. That's the raffle. Links in the description below. Thank you to everybody who's entered so far, and good luck if you are entering. If it goes well, we'll be doing it every single month next season. We'll put a signed shirt, signed item, a signed book, like 4 to 5 prizes in the monthly draw next season. But best of luck. Right, to this. I don't know where to start because there's so much to cut through. So I'm going to start with the summary. The ability to spend is PSR. The ability to spend is one thing. The ability to pay is cash flow. That's a different thing. And I feel like a lot of these reports are intertwining the two, and it's confusing. And I don't like it. Now, I've done my best over the years to learn all about PSR because I think it's important. When I do this as a job, I feel like I should know what I'm talking about. I should know what PSR is. Just like qualification for European football, I feel like I should know how that works in terms of the Premier League, because it's my job, so I'm making my job. I've learned as much as I can about PSR over the years, speaking to people that know far more about I do, reading and listening to whatever I can. So I feel like I've got a grasp of it, or as much as I can get. I think any more time I spend on it, I'm probably not going to learn that much. But what I've seen reported over the last 24 hours, I think it's really discussing PSR, but it's talking about cash flow. And then it's discussing cash flow and talking about PSR. It's two separate things altogether. Even the accounting period is completely different as well. But it's being reported as if it's the same accounting period. And it's really, really irritating me, actually. Because I think a lot of it is bollocks. And that's why we go back to the boy who cried wolf. This is not the first time we've heard this. We hear it pretty much every single summer. I say summer, we hear it in January as well. Oh, we've got no money. Then we spend money. So clearly we did. And I know people will say, well, it's because we want to play poor, because if you announce you've got loads of money and you go to a club, they're going to put the price up. Well, just don't announce anything. Have you considered that? Just don't speak when it comes to informing fans about the financial state of the club. Just don't do it. keep everything behind closed doors. If you are skint, don't tell anyone, because it swings and roundabouts. If you brag you've got loads of money, yeah, when you're trying to buy a player, the price goes up. But likewise, you tell everyone you're poor. When you come to sell a player, surely the price comes down because the buyer knows you're desperate for cash. Say nothing. Zip it. Anyway, this information has been reported by various people. My belief is it's come from David Sullivan. Now, the first thing I want to touch on is this TV... I'll do the TV revenue first. So, it's been reported that we've got a massive hole in our income this year because we budgeted for 8, which is ridiculously stupid in the first place. But we're obviously going to finish 17, or we're likely to finish 17th anyway. So there's a £27 million hole there. Not ideal. I would suggest it's the club's fault for budgeting for 8th, because when I read comments in the summer, not many people thought we'd finish in 8th or above, if anyone. Most people were expecting 11th or 12th in the Premier League. I would argue it would have been sensible for West Ham to budget for 10th or 12th in the Premier League. Now, of course, there'd still be a hole because we're going to finish 17th, but it wouldn't be as big. Now, you could suggest that that would be a lack of ambition. Well, what's better? That you pretend, you don't have to tell anyone this, by the way, you just budget for 10th, and if we finish 8th, great, we've got a bit more money for next season. Finish 12th, not the end of the world, we can recoup those costs. Well, when you budget for 8th and finish 17th, you've got a problem. One of which, I would argue, is self-inflicted. Because yes, the club, Sullivan, can't control the performance of the players or the managers. He hired the manager, but he can't control performance. So let's just give him the benefit of the doubt. What he does control is thinking we're going to finish 8th in the league. So, yeah, okay, £27 million hole, not ideal. One thing that's come out, we've been on TV a lot less this season, so that's going to create problems. Okay, how much? Sometimes I get suspicious about what's not said rather than what's said. So I read and hear everything as much as I can, and I think, well, that part's missing and that part's missing. Why are those parts missing? Because you don't really want us to know. You want us to know that it's a £27 million difference between finishing 8th and finishing 17th, because it's a lot of money. We're on TV a lot less. How much less? And what's the monetary value? Well, that's not put out there. So I went and found out. West Ham, we've been on TV 17 times and we're on TV once more, which is against Nottingham Forest. Now, using last season's money, and my source on this financial information is the Premier League itself, so it's 100% legit. Using last season's TV revenue, so 21 times, and this season 18 times, the difference is 2.6 million. So obviously we're getting more for TV, it'll be less. But let's just say it's the same. 2.6 million is the difference between last season and this season. 3 times difference that we were on TV for. So now we've accepted there's a £30 million hole here. And I'm being generous. There's a £30 million hole between 8th, 17th TV schedule. Okay, what else? Where else is the issues? The only other issue is spending, and not just on players, on managers. If we have a look at Lopetegui, we had to pay him 3.3 million. We didn't give it to him in lump sum. We pay it as wages between when he got sacked and the next year. So Lopetegui had a 12-month clause in his contract, so if we were to dismiss him, we would owe him 12 months' wages. We're currently paying him weekly, monthly, as we were when he was hired. He's essentially on gardening leave, so if he picks up a new job, we don't have to pay him that compensation. And then we went and poached Macaulay, or signed Macaulay, whatever you want to describe it as, from Chelsea, which was £1 million. We then had to pay off Lopetegui's staff. Let's just be generous and say it was less than £1 million. It comes to around about £5 million. Sacking Lopetegui and bringing in Graham Potter has cost the club roughly £5 million. Maybe a little less. Maybe I won't be too far off with that figure. £5 million. Well, that's a problem. However, that's David Sullivan's problem. That's David Sullivan's fault. So budgeting for 8th, his error. Hiring Lopetegui, his error. I have little to no sympathy, as you can probably tell by the tone of my voice. I am pissed off with all this type of thing that goes on, because it's gone on for a little while. But now I'm getting pissed off with the reporting of it. I feel like it's been misleading / muddled up over the last 24 hours for reasons I've already given. But there's one example which is clear, just misleading for misleading purposes. Now, I want to make this clear. I'm not pointing a finger at the messenger. I'm not shooting the messenger. I think the person I'm going to put up on the screen now, I've got 2 screenshots. I think they're just passing on the information. That's what they're doing. I hope that's all they're doing. So it's the person giving them the information that's at fault here. My assumption, I could be wrong, my assumption is the person's David Sullivan, right? It will make sense when you see it. So here is number 1. Now, this was put up by West Ham Football, which is Sean Whetstone, his Twitter account. This was put up last night. It said West Ham will be in breach of Premier League financial fair play rules. By the way, this annoys me as well. This is petty, this. It's not called FFP anymore. It's PSR, and has been for a while. But the fact that Sullivan keeps putting it out there to people as FFP just annoys me. It's like when people call it the Premiership, when it's been the Premier League for 8, 9... 2016 it changed, wasn't it? So 9 years now. Don't know. Anyway, back to the tweet. This means there will be 0 summer transfer budget, forcing Graham Potter to sell before he can buy any players. The Hammers budget for an 8th place finish in merit payments worth up to £3.1 million per place. And if the Irons finish 17th, there will be £27.5 million hole in the budget. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Last season, West Ham featured on the box 20 times, worth £18.5 million. Slightly incorrect. It was 21 times, but £18.5 million. That figure is correct. That is exactly how much West Ham got paid additional for being on TV. The same club source. Now here, this is important, because if all that's come from David Sullivan, what Sean said here is the same person is telling him this part. The same club source has confirmed that the obligation to buy Jean-Claire Todibo has now been triggered after West Ham avoided relegation. Defender on loan from the loan from Nice included a simple 5 Premier League appearances clause plus avoiding relegation. That's fine, we knew that. This is the bit I'm interested in. The total amount, including agent fees, is said to be 39 million, which will need to be found this summer. So why am I calling bullshit? We all got told it was 36 million transfer fee, because it's the way it's been reporting. What that suggests is we owe Nice 36 million and his agent 4 million. And the reason I'm calling bullshit is, and I'm going to use a source on Claret and Hugh, an article which has a quote from Sean, the exact same person. Sean said, as per a report in Sunday Times, Todibo's initial loan will turn into a permanent deal worth 26.8 million next summer. So we're paying 4.2 for the loan last summer. And once we sign him, we've got to pay 26.8 million. I have no problem with the overall transfer fee. What I have an issue with is, in August, Sean was reporting we have paid Nice 4.2 million, and summer 25 we will pay Nice 26.8 million. But now he's reporting that we owe Nice the entire sum of money. Well, which is it? I'll tell you what I believe. The first one. Because let's flip this round. So West Ham got relegated. Are you saying Nice would have earned 0 money from Todibo on loan all season? Rubbish. No club agrees to that. We would have paid that 4 million loan fee. So this summer for Todibo, what we do have to pay is the permanent transfer, which is, according to Sean, 26 million. It all comes to the same amount in total, but importantly, it's split over 2 different accounting periods for cash flow, and it's split over 2 different periods for PSR as well. Important. But the more important thing, or the more troubling thing for me, is it's the reporting. It's the way it's been reported. Because it's now manipulating the figures to say to fans, look, we are skint. We owe Nice and Todibo 39 million. Well, funny that, because in August we'd already paid some of it. The narrative has changed to suit the new narrative, which is we're skint, governor. The other thing I want to bring up is the PSR. Without going into how PSR works too much, I've done it in previous videos. But it's different to cash flow. Sean did a tweet last night and it was about, cash flow, because he said the accounts end at the end of May, but the PSR accounts do not. PSR accounts run from July to June. If you go back to last summer, we weren't involved, but there was a load of Premier League clubs rushing to buy and sell from each other for inflated fees, and the deal had to be done by the end of June. Douglas Luiz going to Juventus, Elliot Anderson going from Newcastle to Nottingham Forest, Mintag going from Newcastle to Brighton. There was plenty of examples of players going for more money than usual because of the way that the PSR works in terms of the profit. But it had to be done by the 30th of June. It'll be the same again this summer. There will be a rush from some clubs, and I'm going to say Aston Villa, because I'm quite confident they'll be one of them. Aston Villa will need to sell someone before the end of June in order to accommodate the PSR period that we're currently in. So that sale will be done in a new set of accounts when it comes to the actual accounts, cash flow, but the same set of accounts when it comes to PSR. Hopefully that makes sense. And the reason I'm pulling this up is because of Declan Rice. So when we sold Declan Rice for 100 million to Arsenal, they paid it in three lump sums, 33.3 million each time over 18 months. That was important for West Ham for cash flow purposes. We needed the actual hard cash. In terms of PSR, whether they paid it in 18 months, 24 months, or they gave us 100 million on the day, it makes no difference. All 100 million of profit goes onto the PSR accounting period there and then. So we sold them in July 2023. That 100 million profit hit the PSR accounts for 23-24 season. And the reason this is important is because PSR runs over 3 years. It's a 3-year rolling. So Declan Rice's sale, that profit hits the 23-24 accounts, but it also counts towards 24-25, which is what we're in now, and 25-26, which is next season. So that starts on the 1st of July through to the end of June. So Declan Rice's 100 million profit for PSR purposes will still count next season. I'm hoping this makes sense. Now, West Ham, admittedly, will have an issue for the 26-27 PSR accounting period because that 100 million drops off like that. It's there one day, the 30th of June, 2026, Declan Rice's 100 million is there. The 1st of July, 2026, Declan Rice's 100 million is gone. It drops off like that. So the club are going to have to be wary of it. But there's also a chance, and a good chance, that we're no longer doing PSR. It's switching to a different financial regulation. Without going into it too much, it will go down to squad to cost ratio where you can only spend 85% of your turnover on your playing staff and your coaches as well. So we might not even have these PSR rules. These PSR rules that we're panicking about and shouting about now may not even exist when that Declan Rice money goes. We don't know. In fairness, it's probably wise to assume they will because of this Manchester City thing. While the Man City legal battle's going on, we can't really change over because this needs to come to a conclusion first, hence why there's been a delay. But when I see all this PSR stuff, I think a lot of the time they're discussing cash flow. Now, I don't know we've got money in the bank. That's what I do not know. But independent people who know far more than I do when it comes to money in football, like Kieran Maguire, like David Ornstein of The Athletic, they're all suggesting West Ham are fine. Financially, they're fine. PSR, they're fine. So when all this stuff comes out, they look at it with a bit of confusion, which is, well, hang on a minute, what's going on? But there is one potential issue. Now, I don't know if this is the issue. There's two. One is wages. And we've had a big increase in wages this season. People don't know about it yet because of the accounting period and the reporting of the accounts. That would answer why there's a problem. There is one other possibility. I'm just going to put this out there. And that is the clubs are allowed, over PSR over 3 years, you're allowed to lose 105 million. You're allowed to make a loss of 105 million. Now, only 15 million of that is allowed to be the club's own cash. So every season, the club you can lose 5 million of your own money, essentially. So over that 3-year period, 15 million, what about the other 90 million? That 90 million has been made up in secure funding, which is essentially where you look at David Sullivan and the other owners of West Ham, not just Sullivan, but you look at the owners of West Ham United, and they're the ones that have got to make up that money. Because every year, the club have to present to the Premier League what their plans are financially for the next 2 seasons. So this summer, they'll be presenting to the Premier League what they're going to be doing for this season. Well, next season, 25, 26, and then 26, 27. And if they're going to lose 105 million over a 3-year rolling period, it's expected that money will be put in by the owners of the football club. All I'm going to suggest is, I'm not sure David Sullivan would be keen on putting 90 million into West Ham United. It can be done with shares, with equity. That's how they would put it in. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I could ramble on about this all day. It's a topic I enjoy discussing, although whether I know enough about it or not is questionable. But hopefully it makes sense. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below. I will do my best. If I don't know the answer, I will do my best to try and find out by speaking to people who know more than I do. But when I've seen all this come out in the last 24 hours, surprised? No. But people often mistake being surprised for being pissed off. So when you get annoyed about something, often I'll see people in the comments say, well, why are you surprised? 2 different things. Just because you're not surprised doesn't mean you can't be pissed off. I'm not surprised. I fully expected this to come from David Sullivan. I'm just pissed off about it. But if we are at the point as a football club where we've got no money, got to the point where we are skint and we cannot do anything, surely that's Sullivan's own admission that he is not good enough as a chairman of a Premier League football club. It has to be. Because if we are genuinely in this point, which I don't believe we are, but if we are, I would suggest there's been failures, big failures at that football club. And it might be, he might point and say, well, we spent too much money last summer. Well, who gave Tim Steidten that much money to spend? Because it's Sullivan's fault that we budgeted for 8. That was a stupid thing to do. But it shouldn't be the end of the world. 30 million is what all these reports are saying. Prize funds, TV money, well, that's 30 million. Is that what it's going to take for West Ham to go from being a healthy, well-run Premier League club to one on the brink of just chaos? Because that's what we are right now. And this proves, the podcast I did with Frankie last night, I think this proves it. West Ham can't afford to sack Graham Potter. Because it just, as we've discussed, it costs 5 million to go from Lopetegui to Potter. So I think it's a fair assumption to go from Potter to the next guy would be another 5 million. Well, we have to sell before we buy. And we are actually at the point where we've got no money, no wiggle room, because managers' compensation comes under PSR. The academy isn't. The women's team isn't. Stadium upkeep isn't. The training ground isn't. So any money we spend on those things, that's not included in the PSR. That's included in the accounts cash flow problem, not PSR. Like I said, the ability to spend and the ability to pay are 2 different things. And I think it's been reported as the same thing. And that's what I don't like. But if we've got to the point where we can literally spend no more money, and that's that, then it means we can't sack Potter. And why are we here? Well, because of the way David Sullivan badly runs this football club, in my opinion, of course. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you. Tune in tomorrow, podcast about Graham Potter. Right, like the video, click the thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new. Catch you tomorrow.